Hi everyone. Today I'm going to share some cost-effective ways to prepare your garden for the coming season. It all begins with soil and potting mixes which provides nutrients to your plants. We will begin with a recipe that will improve your current garden and then we will keep modifying it as we go so that it can be used in containers as well for filling raised beds. In my quest to find budget-friendly options, I did an experiment which is in this blue bin. It blew my mind. I will show it when we finally discuss some budget-friendly options to improve garden soil.
Let's go.
I will begin with options that you can find easily at a big box store. Although I have my trusty composter here full of compost, and it is what I use for my garden. A 25 quarter of ready-to-use potting mix is going for $9.98, so it costs 40 cents for each quarter. Instead of picking something like this, I would pick a bag of 22 quarters of mushroom compost for $4.83 and a bag of 30 quarters of cow manure for $6.48. I would also buy a bag of 15 quarters of place sand for $5.90. I will take equal amount of these three and mix it together. Manures can be strong on plants and burn them, so mixing them with equal quantity of compost will make it easy on the plants. Also, you can use any other compost, be it cotton burr or any other available. With my homemade compost, I don't even mix manure because it turned out to be very rich in soil test. The sand helps with drainage, especially if you are dealing with clay soil. Now this mix is going to be the base recipe. It costs only 26 cents for each quarter. If you have a garden already, you can spread this on top of your garden beds as it is. But let us lower this cost further. I have collected this used up coffee ground from nearby coffee shops. You just give them a call and ask if they can give you used up coffee ground for your garden. Most of them are happy to do so. Coffee grounds add organic matter and nitrogen to your soil. I would add the same amount of it as I did for the other three ingredients and mix it up. Now, the cost of this soil mix is 20 cents per quarter, exactly half the cost of the pre-mixed potting mix. If you find something cheaper than this at store, please feel free to use it. My goal is to reduce the cost as much as possible. We will modify this recipe further for containers and new raised beds, but first let's take some of it and apply this to one of my raised bed. The goal is to keep a thickness of 1 inch of it while applying it. I follow no dig gardening, so I won't work it in, but I prefer to cover it with a thin layer of leaves because spring can bring some crazy winds. Now let us change this recipe for containers. To the mix that we have created, I would add the same amount of mushroom compost. You can use peat moss instead, but I avoid it due to environmental reasons. Mushroom compost can be spent peat moss from mushroom farms, but in this case I am giving it a second chance. One very important thing to understand is that soil tends to settle down and contract over time, whether in ground or in a container. So it is important to keep it from clumping. Otherwise, roots will have a hard time to grow in it. To take care of this issue, we can mix perlite or sand. Perlite is definitely more expensive than sand, but sand will make your containers heavy. If you expect to move your containers around a lot, go with perlite. I would mix sand here for myself. Now this mix is perfect for containers. If you want to use it for indoor containers, just remove manure from this recipe. Replace it with compost or some organic plant fertilizer. This is only because manure had strong smell and may contain eggs or bugs. Technically, compost can have it too, and no one wants fungus knots inside our home. I found an easy solution to fungus knots problems. I will link it in the description. How can you use this recipe if you are starting a new garden or making a new raised bed or an in-ground garden? Let's go back to our base recipe, which is 1 part manure, 1 part compost, and 1 part sand. To this, I would mix equal amount of topsoil and as much coffee grounds as I can find. Then I would use it in the top 6 inches of my raised bed. I have filled the bottom of my raised beds with wooden logs, yard waste, chopped branches, fall leaves, and even the topsoil that I dug out when I planted blueberries. Just remember, the first couple of years may not be as productive for a new garden because it takes time to get there. Now, what if you are very tight on budget and want to reduce this cost further? Let's explore some cost effective options and some free options. Now I'm going to sift out all of these, put them back in those bags, and I'm going to return them to the store. I'm just kidding. If you already have a garden but want to keep costs very limited, I would suggest to buy a bag of organic plant fertilizer. You can find a 4-pound bag for as little as $5. The single bag goes a long way because you won't use it in huge quantity. Try to get a balanced fertilizer where the NPK value is same. The quantity you need to spread is based on the size of the area of a garden and it is described on the back of the packet. I use it for some parts of my garden where I run out of compost. Also, get coffee grounds from nearby cafe because they are absolutely free and you can spread it in your garden. I have always used coffee grounds in combination with compost or an organic fertilizer, so I cannot speak of its powers just by itself. But it brings lots of organic matter with it, which improves soil texture and invites earthworms to your garden. I reduce my gardening cost by making my own compost, following chop and drop practice, making fall leaf compost, etc. Along the same line, I did an experiment last year when I filled this huge blue bin with shredded cardboards and papers. Today, almost a year later, the results blew my mind. Are you ready to see it? The pile of cardboards raised to half in size, and when I turned it upside down, I was amazed. Look at this beauty. Black gold. I'm covering all the details about this process in a video that I would publish soon, so don't forget to subscribe. Also, I am linking a playlist of lots of ways to improve your garden soil in cost-effective ways. Check it out next. I would truly appreciate if you can support this channel by liking this video, sharing it, commenting on it, and subscribing. It would help this channel a lot. Thank you so much for your support.